Welcome to Go for Side Picks. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. Today, we got a special guest, Mike, Army veteran. How you doing today?
I'm hanging in there.
Yep, and another Army guy. And we all know my co-host, another Army guy, John. John, how in the hell you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on tonight, Mike. We appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks for.
so we're going to dive in. Mike, just give us a little story and your background about when you went in, where all you were over during Desert Storm.
All right, I enlisted in the Army in January. I went into the Army in January 1984. Went to basic training on AIT at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then I was assigned to Fort Bliss, Texas, as air defense unit. My primary MOS was tactical communications operator slash repair. I spent the last half of 1984 and 85 at Fort Bliss, and then I was sent to a place called Izmit, Turkey, which was a 25-man detachment in right outside of Istanbul. It was a nuclear weapons facility. Our mission was to blow up the Bosphorus Straits, keep the Russians out of the Mediterranean Sea. I spent a year there. Came back to Fort Bliss. I was assigned to the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. Spent about 3 years there with them. Traveled to Germany. Traveled to, of course, Fort Irwin several times. Then I came down on orders to go to Korea. Was in Korea in 1990 at the DMZ up at 2nd Infantry Division. And then I come back December of 1990. Fort Bliss was completely empty. Most of those units were already deployed over to Desert Storm. I signed into my unit January 2nd, and I was on a plane to Fort Benning, Georgia around January 15th. And then from Fort Benning, Georgia is where I did all my in-processing, got all my anthrax shots, got all the shots, that stuff. And then I was sent by a civilian airliner to Dhahran Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
Sorry,
I was
Mike.
11th Air Defense Artillery Brigade and 2780A, which was a Patriot missile battalion. We had 3 batteries there at Dhahran Air Base and around that whole area there. And we also had units in Qatar and units in Al Jaber, which is the port city about an hour and a half drive up north. It's probably the northest that's where, and then I arrived there on January 20th. The air war had already started. Wasn't there 6 hours and we were attacked by 6 Scud missiles. Went into MOP 4, was in MOP 4 for 8 hours. It'd be all clear. All the NBC equipment went off. It was detected of gas on multiple testing units. We were hit again that morning with another 4 Scud missiles. We shot down probably 4 of them. The other ones broke up in the atmosphere, and we didn't engage those. After my processing, like I said, I went in as a replacement. I didn't know anybody in my unit, and I was treated like a replacement. I stayed at the battalion headquarters for 4 days. During those 4 days, we were hit with 19 Scud missiles. We shot down. And then I was transferred up to Al Jabal, which was F battery of 2780A, and was the communication sergeant there. I got there, and it was nothing but Marines and Navy. We were the only Army unit there. We on February 16th, we were hit with a Scud missile there at Al Jabal. It hit the ocean. The NBC alarms went off again. Tested positive for nerve agent. And then I on February 20th, which is just before the ground war started, I was doing maintenance on a Patriot unit missile. I was replacing some communication cables that had gotten damaged through the windstorms and dust storms there, and I fell off. I was rushed to a Navy hospital there. Was diagnosed with back then a concussion. Traumatic brain injury didn't exist. It was concussion. I was put on light duty, if you can say that. There's no such thing as there. So they made me become a runner, and basically a runner. I was running stuff between Al-Jabal and Duran Air Base from February 20th to February 25th. I was there when the when a Scud missile hit the supply depot, killed 26 people, injured 100. I was in the building next to it. Didn't have a scratch. And then, of course, the ground war took three or so days, and it was pretty much over. I was exposed to the burn pits. I was exposed to, of course, sarin gas, and then plus all the bromide pills that they gave us. Got the crabs, got all kinds of stuff. My injuries were I lost 75% of my eyesight. I have a permanently dilated pupil. It was later diagnosed as a traumatic brain injury. I've since suffered from, and then of course, my back went out on me. Spinal stenosis. I had some vertebrae that were messed up. I've been dealing with that ever since. I got out. Like I said, I spent 8 years in the service, and I got out shortly after I got out. I came back from Desert Storm. I want to say the end of April. I was very lucky. I only spent about 4 months there. Only because I was already overseas and I was coming back from my tour in Korea. Got out. I was kind of forced to get out because my wife divorced me, left me with 3 kids. I became a single parent, so the Army kicked me out.
That happened. That actually happened to a guy on my ship.
So I got out and said I got to get to work, and so I got a job. Thank God I didn't do anything to do with what I did in the service. Got into construction, and not the physical part of construction, but more of the planning and development. I was a blueprint reader, estimator. Did takeoffs, a lot of both residential and commercial, and did that for until I couldn't work anymore, which was 6 years ago. I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, radiculopathy or muscle twitching. I've had problems with my knees, my legs, my back. Was on a walker for several years. Went through intense therapy for PTSD many years ago, and still on medication for that. And then I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 6 years ago. Internal radiation, thought they got it all. And that wasn't done at the VA. I was very lucky. I filed my first claim in 1992, was denied on all of it. I was service connected for my eye and service connected for my broken foot and a few other things, but they were all at 0%. They denied me for everything else. And then I kept filing about every 2 years, but I was doing it by myself.
I was going to ask, you were taking care of this filing by yourself, which is,
until 2010, and I got PFW, got a VSO, and sure enough, as soon as she did it, I went from 0 to 80%.
Really?
Wow.
Took them 2 years, but in 2012, I was 80% disabled in 2012. That hasn't had anything to do with my cancer. Mostly for my head injury, I've been denied from my back injury ever since. And then I started having problems, internal problems. I was diagnosed that same year in 2012 with skin cancer. I get these little bumps that spread on my back, and I've had them ever since I was in golf, ever since I was in Desert Storm. They started cutting them off at earlier, probably 2008. They started cutting them all off, but they started being cancerous in 2012. I've had 8 of them cut off that were cancerous on my back and my face. And I have to go every 6 months to a dermatologist to have them check them. Knock on wood, the past 6 or 7 years have all been benign. But like I said, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2017 and went through internal radiation at a civilian doctor because the VA couldn't help. Thought it was gone. And then 2020 came along, and everyone knows what 2020 was the pandemic. I couldn't get in to see anybody, not even a civilian doctor. The telephone, telemedicine. They do my blood work. My PSA levels started tripling and doubling, and they put me on Lupron, which is hormonal therapy. It cuts off your testosterone, and the testosterone what feeds the cancer. And I've been on that ever since. But I had bad reactions to it, and the doctor didn't want to give it to me anymore. And then just this 6 months ago, I went through and did a bunch more diagnostic testing and biopsies, and then they found out that the cancer spread through my lymph nodes. So they requested me take a special medication. It's a pill medication. It's the same thing as Lupron, but it's not in injections. And the VA denied me those.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
2 months ago, they denied it. The pharmacy denied it, said that it wasn't on their formulary. But then the doctor that I'm seeing, which is, again, I'm not seeing a VA provider for my cancer. It's what they call community care.
Yeah.
And I've been on community care ever since the pandemic. The only VA doctor I've been seeing is for my eye, and my PTSD, of course. And so I had to go to the what do they call it? The community. I had to call my congresswoman, and those people got involved, and I had to call the customer advocate. I had to go down there and sit to them, and finally, after 2 months, they've approved my medicine. So I finally got that. I was scheduled to go into more radiation therapy in 2 weeks. It's going to be 6 weeks every day for an hour. So I'm not looking forward to that. But the doctor says they're going to be playing on me for the rest of my life. What I'm trying to do is keep it from getting to my bones. If it gets to the bone, it's pretty much goodbye. So
What do you have?
my problem list, the VA, is actually 10 pages long. I didn't list everything. Crazy.
So, Mike, I'm gonna go way back early in the conversation because I'm genuinely curious because I think I know what the answer is going to be. Is about when you were in theater and the nerve agent was detected, and so you were an NCO at that point.
Yeah.
And so, what did they tell you when it was positive detection? Did that get properly annotated, or was it not annotated, or how were you guys instructed to acknowledge or disregard or whatever on that? I'm curious.
Well, first of all, when that happened, you could tell there was a lot of panic set in. I had a unique setting. I was the communications sergeant, so I sat in a lot of officer briefing.
Okay.
From the colonel to the generals, I heard pretty much all the communication.
Okay.
First of all, they wanted to know how many casualties. That was the number one thing. How many casualties do we have? And that's the thing, is nobody was getting sick. And my take on what they thought is we were hitting these Scud missiles way up in the air, and the stuff was falling down on us. So the stuff was evaporating, but we were getting minute traces of it. That's my take on it. But we kept logs on everything from when the alarms went off, from when it was detected, the NBC officers when they would double check it, they triple checked it, but no one was getting sick. So, like I said, we were in Mop 4 for 8 hours straight, and kind of crazy because we never trained for 8 hours straight in Mop 4. So
Kevin, I know I'm sure we've talked about this, but I don't know how it is in the Navy. Do you understand what Mop 4 is, Kevin?
Yeah. Well, you think we're
You
dumb?
do or don't?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they do in the
People
Navy.
not think the Navy. I tell you what.
I don't know.
So
Yeah,
I could tell
yeah.
the major cover up. They were hiding it all.
Oh yeah.
They were hiding it all. The fun we shot these Scud missiles down, we'd go and collect them up and bring them over to our CP, and everyone would crawl all over them.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's out there. If you really go and look, there's pictures of guys standing next to destroyed Scud missiles with no protection on. So anyway, after about, I want to say about 7 days, man, they just disregarded the alarms. There's some of the units that just turned them off.
I'm familiar with that, and so I appreciate you answering the question. I know, as do many know, that a lot of these records get destroyed, right? Because they don't want proof. You know, even though we do our due diligence or writing stuff down, that doesn't mean it's going to make it to the top. And if it makes it to the top, it's going to get, shared. So I mean, we all already know the information there, but
we had people come to our units in civilian clothes. Well, I'm pretty sure they were CIA. But I can't verify that. They collected all of our logbooks. They took them.
No, imagine that.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Well, now I got a question. Let's get back to where you were fixing the Scud missile stuff. Well, what do y'all call that?
What are you talking about?
The launcher that you were working on that you fell off.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is there like just one button you press and it does it, or is it like remote control, or what was that like?
Well, first of all, the Patriot missile system was designed to shoot down aircraft. It wasn't designed to shoot down missiles. They updated those missiles about 6 months before they deployed to Desert Shield. The system is usually a battery has 4 missile launchers. Every missile launcher has four missiles. It's run by a massive radar system and a control van. In the control van, you have an officer, you have an NCO, and you have a communications person. They use a bunch of things. So we coordinated with the Air Force. We use a lot of AWACS to coordinate the launches. That's how they detected the launches in Iraq. And then they tracked them. And as soon as they got within distance, the Patriot missile had a range of about 20 miles, I'd say. Effective back then. I don't know about now. I'm sure they've upgraded them since then. They're still using them. But once they tracked on, it's pretty much done electronically. The only one that pushes the button is the officer that launches it. And typically, we were launching 2 to 3 missiles for every Scud missile because we didn't know the proximity of what the accuracy was. Now, I can tell you that if everyone remembered George Bush going on TV saying the Patriot was 31 out of 30 hits, that was a lie. We were about 50% accurate at that best. Yeah. The thing is, people don't know the Scud missile was basically a humongous, huge hot water tank, about 36 feet long, and it was filled with kerosene that propelled it. It went up into the atmosphere, and the problem was that they were so poorly built that when they got into the atmosphere, they broke up. So we didn't know what to hit. You either hit the fuel propellant portion of it or the warhead portion of it. So that's why they were shooting so many Patriots at it. But no, it's a very high tech system. I can tell you that. Again, I'm not trained on it. I was lucky enough to sit in there several times as part of my duties as the communication sergeant. But they did a lot of communications between the Air Force and our detection systems. I don't even know where they were from. where they detected these things, because the range of a Scud missile was about 400 or 500 miles.
Man, all I can tell you is I would like to be the one behind the controller. So if the military is willing to give me one, put it in my backyard, I can play around with it. I can have a lot of fun with that shit. Now, let's get back to when you were talking about with the VA and moving over to Champ VA. With me, I don't get that choice to go to Champ VA. I have to ask my provider permission to go, and they have to. But you did something very unique that I don't know if anybody else caught what you said. You called your congressman. And that right there, if you've ever heard me talk, that's one of the things I preach. If you're having problems, go see your congressman. Go down there, talk to them. And that's what a lot of vets don't know. If you go down, I know you don't think that they care, but if you go down there at least 10 times, their ass is going to be like, what the hell is going on? It's true.
Well, a squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Right.
So, I actually never got to speak to my congresswoman, but her staff really jumped on the ball, to be honest with you. They made like 2 or 3 calls, and the next thing my phone was blowing up. So I don't know what kind of connections they have, but I should have done that a lot sooner on a lot of other things many years ago. And yeah, if you're not getting the help you need, I truly want to believe that the doctors and the people at the VA want to do that. I truly believe it. I think the problem is the administrators, people that make the money decisions, the people that make the people, the hiring decisions. For example, here in El Paso, Texas, we have a population of about 800,000 people that we know of, not including the people we don't know about. But there's 65,000 veterans that live here. We have no VA hospital. It's a VA clinic.
What? No VA hospital?
VA hospital. It's a VA clinic, and they've been short-staffed doctors forever. Like I said, when I moved here, it's been 4 years now. I was put on what they call community care. I was given a private primary doctor in the community, because the simple fact they had not enough space for them. They don't have enough facilities here. Problem is they never train any of the community doctors to speak VA. So if they don't write your stuff up right, it gets rejected. They don't your diagnosis right. They don't write your prescription correctly. They don't use the formulary. They don't use VA speak. They deny it. So you have to go over and over again trying to get it corrected. The other bad thing about community care is those doctors can't see your VA records. You have to carry.
But they do. So, and I didn't know this, because when I would get stuff in the mail saying this is not a bill, this is just what we paid whoever you saw in care in the community, that person or that doctor, they get the same piece of paper that we get, or at least they say this is what needs to be corrected. And I didn't know that. I was like, oh, well, they got it. So if there's a hiccup, because I've had that happen to me once or twice, for, if I had to go to the emergency room, because when you go to the emergency room, you're going to get, not just the bill, you're going to get like 3 or 4 or 5 different bills, right? And they the people who are taking care of that billing, they like you said, they don't do it upright. And I get something in the mail. I say, nope. I call them up. I say, nope, this is covered. Here's the number. I give them the number to call, and they try and stay on the phone with you like they're going to collect some money. I'm like, nope, here's the deal, blah, blah, blah. You understand? Okay, have a good day. Click. I'm not going to sit there and wait, because they want to waste your time, but.
I know that, because where I live, there's a clinic. There's one in our county, one in next county, one in next county. And so that's good. But you're right. They're understaffed.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention that if you get cancer, there's only so many cancer treatment centers that the VA has. Like in Texas, there's only 2, one in San Antonio and one in Houston.
Right.
facilities don't have a cancer treatment center. You're sent out to the community. New Mexico, the state of New Mexico, does not have a VA cancer treatment center at all. California has probably one of the most, probably 4 or 5 of them in California. VA Long Beach, VA Los Angeles, and I think there's one down in San Diego, and I know there's got to be one up towards San Francisco. The only reason I say that, I lived in California for many, many, many years, and I was serviced. Well, from 2012 till 2019, I was exclusively being treated at the VA in Long Beach. Problem is, there were so many patients there that the waiting time to get treated on cancer was 6-7 months. That's why I had to go out to UCLA and get my first cancer treatment done. So there's pros and cons to it. Don't get me wrong. My doctors that they assigned me to were great. Didn't have any problems. The problem was the communication with my medical records getting to the proper VA, and they still don't go. If you go into your My Healthy Vet, any medical records from the community is not in your My Healthy Vet. You won't get them there. They don't put them there. So that's a big disconnect as far as the communication with that. I have nothing against community care. It's great. They just got to figure out how to get the medical records in so your other doctors can see them. Because what happens now is every time my doctor wants blood work, I got to go give new blood. I mean, I done about every month now from one of their doctors because they won't see it. Now I carry them around because I'm tired of getting pricked. But the thing is my medical records are this thick. Most doctors you walk into ain't gonna read those. They ain't gonna do it.
No,
so
that's true.
They just won't. They don't have the time. Everyone's too busy. But what I can tell everyone out there, if you served there, even if you served in OIF or in Iraq, go get tested for cancer. Don't wait till your age limit, because mine could have been detected probably 5 years earlier. But the rule is back then they didn't test you for those cancers until you turned 50.
So hold on. So I got a question. So you say, because I mean, you're saying asked to be tested for cancer, but that's only because your symptoms, or see, I wouldn't know, if I'm having problems, they do the blood work and I'm assuming they detect issues there and that's where it goes from. Okay.
Well, there's a thing called PSA test. It's a test of the cancer in blood work.
Right.
That test is normally not on the schedule of tests. Like if you go to your primary doctor, they test for, liver function and kidney function and cholesterol and all that kind of stuff. Don't test for cancer until you hit a certain age limit. And that's 50. And then the funny thing is the first test I tested by PSA, man, it was 3 times what it should have been.
Oh, so you had to request the check. You did not have to. Oh, okay.
No, and I was having problems. I was having some pains. I was having some peeing problems. I was having some private part issues. But they all diagnosed it with a bunch of other stuff. Overactive bladder. They diagnosed me with overactive bladder. They diagnosed me with ED. They diagnosed me with a bunch of other stuff. Back 5 years before I was diagnosed with cancer. They never tested me for cancer.
Yeah, see, and that's a problem. That's the one thing about it is, a lot of the doctors you go to, they're general doctors. You literally got to almost go to a damn specialist that says, no, wait a second, there's more going on here. And there's more going on. But we don't see specialists. A lot of people think we do, but we do not see specialists. We see practicing nurse practitioners that come in, listen to what you have to say, tell them what's going on. They read your charts from last 3 months. Then they send it up to the specialist, says, well, I think it's this, and this. And they'll go, okay. And I'm like, so, or they're on a computer, like a laptop. They get on there, you're telling them what's going on. And it's like a book that comes up that can tell them, well, you can have this. It can either be this. We're going to try this. That's what a lot of them do now
Right.
because that's what they're being trained for.
Absolutely. And the thing is with any cancer, and is that the early detection the better. Um, in my case, well, would it achieve things? I don't know. And I'm not mad at anybody, to be honest with you. It's just I'm just trying to get it taken care of.
Yeah.
But you know, the VA is really good at throwing medication at you and giving you a diagnosis. And sometimes they don't even give you, they just give you medication. You know, like I said, at one time I was on 23 different medications, and half of them were just making things worse.
And,
Holy crap. Yeah.
and that's where like last week's came in, where we were talking about, the patches and what we're proposing over what, not what the VA. We don't want anybody to stop taking their medicine, but for people that are dealing with cancer, there's like cancer protocols. There's all protocols for everything. Like what I have, neuropathy, X39, ice wave, boom, I was taken care of. Yours is going to be different. John's was different. But that's why I'm pushing what we have, because there's no chemicals, there's no medication inside, and it's clinically safe, no side effects to it. That's the one thing about it, is these guys that I know you're given so much medicine to take. This isn't medicine. It's a patch. It goes on the back of your neck, or goes underneath your feet. It goes where the pain is, and it literally starts working with your own body's chemicals. And so,
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Go
yeah,
ahead, Kevin.
and
Sorry.
with what we've studied, what we're looking at, it just isn't me that's looked into this. It's my mom, my dad, my uncle. It's my cousin, but he's old enough to be my uncle. It's you, it's Wade, it's Pete and Christy. This works. It does, and I can tell each and every person out there, you may not have the results I have right away, but even like John, even though it took 3 weeks to get his ass up to say, "Hey, freaking do this."
Yeah.
John, tell the stories. Okay, we had Janetta on.
Yes.
Okay, we're not gonna say what she does or anything, but we had her on. I want you to tell a story of what happened just this week.
Yeah, I was a procrastinator because I'm I like a lot of us veterans, where we don't believe it until it's sitting in front of us, and we want, immediate results. That being said, my next door neighbor, who's a 90-year-old Korean vet, he has problems with neuropathy. So he was aside from myself and my family, he's one of the first friends that I tried this on, and he was out of pain. I put the ice wire, so it's photolight therapy, right? That's how it works. It's a non-transdermal patch. In other words, it doesn't transfer any medications into the body. And John was like, so my next door neighbor's name is also John. I said, "How you doing?" And he says, "I don't have any pain. I'm doing great." And further went to put the X39 patch on him. He can't reach the back of the neck, so I put it on for him. And I went back and asked him a few questions. How'd you sleep? He was having to get up multiple times in the middle of the night to go pee, but now he only has to do that once. He feels better, doesn't have any pain in his legs anymore. And then I shared this information with Janetta, and she was coming over to help John. John needed some Janetta needs some paperwork signed to get some authorization done for John. And I was sharing with her what I had found out. And she had said, "Well, I asked her, do you got any pain anywhere?" And she kind of explained, "Yeah, I got some pain in my knees and whatnot." So I put these ice wave patches on the bottom of her feet. And we were just talking about other things for a few minutes. And she's getting ready to leave. And I didn't ask any more questions. And she's about ready to walk out the door. She looks back at me. She goes, wow, I think I'm feeling it already. And her husband happens to be a Navy vet. I gave her another set of patches. I said, try these on your husband. And she went and she tried them on her husband. Her husband, I think, does something in the construction field. I don't know exactly what he does, but hard worker. And he was, I think, I want to say shoulder pains he was having, and he was out of pain. And she goes, where do I sign up? These patches work. And this is a person that deals a lot with the military community. So
That's
proof is in the pudding.
right. And that's why I push this. I push this on all the Gulf War sites. I push this anywhere that veterans, all it would take is just to try it one time. 100% money back guarantee. If you try it, I'm telling you, you can call me up. I'll tell you how to put them on, and you will sit there and thank me for everything you ever had. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. But with you, Mike, you got to have a different protocol with what you're going through, cancer and stuff like that. There are different protocols for everything that you do, and so, which I give you a number to call tomorrow. But the stuff that you've gone through, Mike, I from the bottom of my heart, thanks, man. Thanks for your service. Thanks for coming on here telling all of us what you're going through, because a lot of people are in your boat that wouldn't talk about it.
I can tell you it's a long, long, hard fight, but you can't give up. The VA's red tape can be broken, but it takes a lot of fight. And I gotta be honest with you, I gave up there for a long time, from 1992 to basically 2005. I didn't want nothing to do with the VA. I was blessed to have private health insurance up until I quit working about 6 years ago. Now I'm totally reliant on it. I mean, I have some other options if I had to, but I'm totally dependent on the VA healthcare system right now to help me stay alive. And it's just and there's good places and bad places, but I can tell you, it's you can't give up. You can't give up, and there's been so many days I've cried, broken stuff, and did a whole bunch. I did things I regret. But you got to talk to that right person. And if it is calling your congressperson, and you know what, you might not talk to your congressperson, because I never did talk to her. I talked to her representatives, and they got on the boat. And then coupled with patient advocacy, I actually think that's who they called, because things started. Next thing you know, I was getting calls from everything there, and they tried to make excuses for why they didn't do it. And I said, look, I don't want any excuses. I just do what the doctor's telling you to do. You sent me to a doctor to treat me, but yet you won't give the medication that they want me to take. And it's not right.
So the moral of the story is what Mike is telling y'all: fight for your life. That's the moral of the story. That literally is what a lot of people may not understand. I mean, even in the civilian world, you still have to fight for your life. You go to a doctor, you don't walk in there if you got a stub toe and tell them your freaking finger hurts when you're there for your toe. I mean, it's just true. I mean, okay, bad analogy maybe, but I mean, it is. It's kind of like when I went in. I went to the doctor and I walked in, and this poor lady in the hospital, she looked at me, she goes, baby, what's wrong with you? Well, when you crawl in all fours on your leg, hands and legs, I'm in all fours, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And this poor lady looks over and she goes, sugar, what's wrong with you? I looked up, I said, I'm having kidney stones.
No.
Let me tell you something. That lady didn't question me. That lady she was like, come on over here. And I crawled over, got up in this chair. They came and got a wheelchair me right to the x-ray machine. Sure enough, I had an 1.5 inch big kidney stone.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
And right. But I didn't go in there and give them if they would have told me it wasn't a kidney stone, I would have kicked their ass, because I know what one feels like. And that's what you're trying to say, Mike, is that, hey, I know what I have. I know what needs to be done. Let's take care of it.
Yeah. But to be honest, yeah, and now I do, but 15 years ago I didn't. I had no clue. But the VA didn't recognize 11 cancers for Desert Storm veterans if they didn't know there was a problem. On my VA claim that I just got today, it says on there, you were exposed to hazardous airborne materials.
Right,
and they
is that how it's phrased?
Yep.
Hey, doesn't that piss you off, though? Doesn't that just piss you off that?
Yes, they don't say nerve gas. They don't say burn pits. They don't say anything. It says hazardous airborne materials.
Right.
Yeah.
11 cancers. So I'm service connected, thank God. Like I said, the only reason I filed this claim is because if I died, I wanted my wife to get my benefit. And so yeah, that's how it came. Now it took a little while, but and a little fighting, but yeah, it says it right on there that these 11 cancers, you have it. Like I said, it's but there's a lot of people out there. I really didn't have a lot of symptoms for a long time, and they were misdiagnosed as overactive bladder or diagnosed with something else that had something close and similar to it, but it wasn't cancer. And I went on for like 5-6 more years until they finally gave me a PSA test to figure out.
Man.
Well, so you were advocating for yourself, which we always talk about on this podcast. Advocate, and do a follow up. Just don't make 1 or 2 phone calls and sit back and wait for them call. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And you had mentioned once you went to a VSO, so a veteran service officer, and we've talked on this podcast before how they're not all the same, because some are more willing to do stuff. I got a phenomenal VSO officer in my area here. She does phenomenal work, and we're fortunate. And we, like you had said, Mike, the VA, I genuinely, as you say, I genuinely feel that my providers try and do their level best. You have to educate them on what your issues and what you're dealing with, especially in care in the community, and, because these doctors, they want to do right by you, but they're not, as we've often talked, they're not trained. You have to bring them up to speed in a short order. Yes, like you said, some of us have thicker medical records than others. Cut to the chase. Here's my worst case scenario, or here's what's bothering me the most. Here's what's happened to me, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, and go. And Kevin and I and Hope and Wade and all of us who have learned about these patches, I myself have different results than Kevin. My wife no longer has to get injections in her shoulder because, she's got a crazy high pain tolerance like a lot of women do. But she says, she's a very honest person. She goes, I'm not in pain anymore. I don't have any more pain, And she goes, this is a woman thing, because I would have never thought. She goes, and my skin is softer or whatever she said. I'm like, okay, and really, okay, we've heard it. Okay, that's good. But and she's sleeping better. I'm sleeping better. My range of motion in my joints is better. I don't have pain. I still have gut issues. I still have gut pain. I still, that hasn't gone away. Has it? I've noticed it's gotten. I don't get in as much pain as quickly as what I did. So it's going to take time. But I'm definitely seeing benefits. So no question it works. But
Right.
Here again,
Right.
different people, different results.
Right. And we're about to go into the after the show, but I just want to Mike's even done research on these patches. And I just want you to tell me what the research you've looked at for it and stuff like that. Were you pretty impressed with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to be quite honest with you, I'm ready to order them now. I was just trying to get a little bit more information to make sure
Right.
not going to make it worse with all the medications that they got me on. That's the thing. And to be quite honest with you, I know you're advocating not to take medicines. My whole objection is to get off these medications, because if you really read in deep in some of these medications, they have a lot of side effects. They
Yes.
problem.
And and
Uh,
and they
it,
do, Mike. I understand that, but I can't advocate for I can't advocate for you to get off of them. That's got to be that person's choice. But I'm going to advocate one thing. In the very beginning, in the comment section, I put in the www.go4sideeffectpatches.com. Y'all go look at the research. Y'all go look at it. Research it. This isn't something that was just done overnight. 20 years experience. The guy did it for the Navy SEALs. I mean, to me, that's a powerful statement. And I mean, go to our website, check it out. 100% money back guarantee. I'm going to push this every podcast because I believe it should be in every hand of every Go For vets. And I promise you, you'll see results. Some may take time, some will be quick like me, but you will see it. But with that being said, we're going to go into the after show now. I want to thank each and everybody for listening. John, thanks for coming on. Michael, especially, Godspeed with you, man. Thank you for listening to Go For Side Effects. If you have a story or you would like to share or just come on with any comments or questions, please email me at kevinsimon@go4sideeffects.com.